to the kind of purity we need?
Well, boy, that's an incredible question, Whitley, and the answer is, in part, as I stated in our last conversation, it begins with simply the intention to make that so, and the choice that that is the life path that you're going to pursue. It requires, again, in the statement of Jesus, that we make this the foundation of our life, of seeking these mysteries of the kingdom of life that will purify us and make us into that pure light. And it seems that from that statement that the seeking is a big part of the actual creation of this purity or this being of light. Then in addition, the Pistis Sophia talks about certain keys that are required. These seem to be operating on two levels. First, they're talking about keys of knowledge that we are to acquire, and the good news here is that this knowledge seems to already be embedded within our DNA. Then the second thing that we're looking for are the keys, the vibrations coming from the dove, the Milky Way, the goddess herself, that will this latent knowledge within us. So
what we call, incidentally, folks, just a second, is junk DNA.
That's
right. Where it is. We talked last week, I believe, week before last, about the code, or the language. Or have we talked about this yet, William?
Maybe not.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the language that was found in DNA. Now, I'm supposed to only talk from your knowledge, but I might be slipping something in here. I'm not sure.
Oh, great. Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, I'm going to do it then. Okay, I don't know whether this is in William's book or not. Now, I'll slip it in because it has come out. Junk DNA, if you analyze the structure of what we call junk DNA, it's a linguistic structure. If you analyze it linguistically, it's clear that it is some kind of a language or code that is buried in junk DNA. Now, that information is what you and I and William and all of us are moving toward accessing. We will crack the code, and when you do totally crack the code, you literally change your body's nature. This is what the anointing that Mary Magdalene carried out is all about. The anointing of Jesus is awakening what in our time, this amazing time where everything important is so carefully hidden away, we have decided to call junk DNA. What we really should call it is the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And in fact, in the Illuminator, I talk about this connection between Mary Magdalene and this language system called the language of the angels.
Yes.
And this goes back to the mystic literary tradition that's associated with the place name Magdala, which is where Mary Magdalene is said to have come from. And in this mystic literary tradition, the story is told about Job's daughters who put on 3 cords that Job had acquired from the Lord, as he says, in heaven. These were some kind of shimmering sashes or cords that he gave to his daughters that assured that they would enjoy a life and afterlife in the heavens. And we're not sure exactly what these cords are. I like to make the joke that in Nashville, where I live, if you've got 3 chords in the truth, you've got a hit song.
Yeah. And, well, a chord of let's see. 2 are better than 1, and the cord of 3 strands is not quickly snapped. That's our family motto.
Ecclesiastes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and so when Job's daughters acquire these 3 cords or sashes, these shimmering cords of light, when his first daughter puts it on, she goes out of her body. Her heart is suddenly transformed. She no longer cares about earthly or worldly things, and suddenly she starts speaking in the language of the angels. Now, this language of the angels is also called the language of the birds. It's believed to be the original pre-flood language that was spoken in the Garden of Eden and was used up until the Tower of Babel incident. And when we follow this trail of this mysticism, this mystic story of Magdala, where Job's daughters lived, and we associate it with Mary Magdalene, it strongly suggests that Mary Magdalene also understood this language of the angels, which I think you're right on top of it, Whitley, is actually the language of this junk DNA.
Yes, and folks, you don't need to learn this. You don't need to go to Berlitz to learn it. The key here is it's to find it, to recover it, and to recover your place in it, because it is written in the DNA of your body exactly who you are and what your place is. And William's journey is so important, and I keep bringing him back on this program, and we have worked together now for years, because it is the journey into the language of the birds, the lost language, the language where you can utter real words of power, without also known as the Enochian calls, and by all sorts of different names. But it is not a matter of doing things in the external, physical world. In other words, you're not going to be speaking to other initiates in this language. Your initiation is in yourself. The language that you seek to discover is the language of the self in dialogue with God. That is the language, and that is the inner journey that you need to take. William, why is this important, this journey through mythology that you're taking, so vitally important to this inner discovery? Can you make the bridge between those two?
Well, it's because the bridge is made through symbols, because symbols are timeless. And it seems that these symbols are what actually activate this knowledge within us, simply by being in contact with the symbol. This is why people wear crosses or stars of David or other religious symbols. It's because they want to connect at the soul level with the energy that is associated with that symbol.
Yes.
And that's why it's so dangerous in our times that so few of us really understand the language of symbols. Although advertising and marketers use these symbols on us all the time, so few of us are able to actually read this language. We're literally blind to the meaning of it. And in fact, political regimes and governments and indeed marketers count on the total blindness of the average individual to the meaning of symbols, and therefore they can use them in advertising. But
yes,
once we begin to connect with these symbols, we are actually linking with our higher self, because it attracts our soul. It gets our soul excited, and it sets up essentially a tractor beam between our earthly self and our higher self, and begins to put us on this path of literally ascension, of climbing the stairway to heaven. So just by studying the symbols, by meditating on the symbols, and allowing them to pour over our consciousness, we're, in a sense, in this way, beginning this process of understanding at a very deep and subliminal level.
In symbolism, form is content. Never forget that. When William has in his books these little pictures that he has, they're not very, just little black and white pictures and so forth that you see in the books, you find, and it's good that they are simple like this, the more colorful and brighter and more elaborate they are, the less able you are to inculcate them. This is the value of Harold Bailey's work, because it's all in line drawings, and all of the pictures are just very, very simple. Right. Or the essential images that are on the Tarot of Marseille, and not elaborated by all too much pouring from the empty into the void type of intellectual content. But these symbols themselves actually contain power. The images contain power. The places contain power. It does not hurt to go to the places. And William, let me ask you this as a kind of aside here. If someone felt like maybe if they went to a place, where would be a very good place for them to go to find the energy maybe a little higher than at home?
Well, I'm inviting people to come visit me in Nashville.
I'm so glad you said that, because what I'm trying to say here, folks, is you will find in every continent such places. Nashville? Why Nashville? Tell us.
Well, for some reason, the energy of Nashville, the spiritual consciousness of Nashville, it's Music City, USA, for one thing. And it's also the only place on the planet that has copies of two healing temples from the ancient world. We have a scale replica of the Temple of Holy Wisdom, otherwise known as Athena's Parthenon, in Nashville.